Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Premiership Quarter. Today, I'm going to be doing my 2024 season prediction for the Fremantle Dockers. I will be going over their starting 23 that I have predicted, that I think will be the best team that they can have when everyone is fully healthy, their best and fairest, who I think will finish in the top three, as well as their most goals, most improved, bit of their off-season outlook, and where I have them finishing from my ladder prediction. To start with, we'll go with their best 23. So in their key position depth, I have Alex Pearce as their starter with Brennan Cox. Pearce is 28 and Cox is 25, so they're right in the middle of their prime. Cox obviously has about a 6 or 7 year deal left on a fair bit of money, but at his best, he's probably worth it. I know that's not the most popular opinion, but during 2022, when Fremantle were at their best, he was very close to making the All-Australian team. Same thing with Luke Ryan. I think he is of All-Australian calibre as a player. He is your perfect third tall. He's able to play one-on-one situations, but also be creative with the ball at times. I know he struggled with that last year, but so did the Fremantle squad. And he's also great with his intercept game, along with Cox as the two main threats in the air for Fremantle. Now, with their smalls, I've got Corey Wagner playing. By the end of the season, I think he will be there. I think he'll have a pretty good season for them and could be a good young piece for them going forward. And then their two rebounders, I've got Hayden Young. There's a lot of talk of him playing more midfield time, which I think is absolutely possible. But I don't know if Jordan Clark would be able to handle the responsibility of their transition from half-back to the forward 50 enough by himself. So I've still got Hayden Young as that second half-back flanker. I think, as I said with Clark, he's good and he had a great 2022 and his pace is a real weapon for him, but I don't think he's consistent enough. And I don't think that he will be able to handle the responsibility on his own if Hayden Young were to go on the midfield. To talk about their wingers, I've got James Aish. He's that more experienced winger. I think a lot of teams do like that, having one experienced and one younger winger. If you look at Collingwood, they've got side-bottom Dacos. If you look at a couple other teams, they've got the same Duncan and Holmes for Geelong. So I think Aish and O'Driscoll will sort of be that similar pairing. O'Driscoll obviously is a great left-footed kick. It's just whether he's able to find the position, and I just have him fitting in on the wing. Now, their tall forwards is a bit of a iffy, non-definitive choice. Obviously, a miss is guaranteed, but whether you go Taberner and go one ruckman, whether you go two ruckman in Darcy and Jackson, or you go small and have just a miss and Tracy, I think will be a question for them, and they'll need to answer it by the end of the season. A miss probably isn't your first big, buff, tall forward that you would win a premiership with. He's not your Tom Lynch. He's more of your Jack Riewoldt. He needs a bit of that protection, you could say. And it's whether Jackson or Darcy would be able to provide that for him. I think Tracy is that big-bodied third forward for them in the future. He's pretty good right now, and I think he could potentially get to that 30-goal range by the end of the season if he plays every game. I like their small forwards as well. You've got Frederick, who is very good, is very athletic. He uses that to the best he can. He's a great goal sneak, and he can kick some terrific goals and celebrates almost like Tom Papley to that level. So he's a real litmus test for them. When he's on, Fremantle seems to be on. And then they've got the two olders. I don't have Fife in the midfield. I just think his body won't be able to hold up with the injuries he's had. So it's a bit of a problem for them. They don't have that real big-bodied in an under midfielder. So I do think he'll also be able to do more damage in the forward line than what he would in the midfield. So I've got him as that fourth forward who can play in the midfield. And then Michael Walters, that experienced head in the forward line, can kick goals out of nowhere, and he's just very important for them still at this age. Their midfield now, I've got Darcy over Jackson because I think Darcy will be able to have more impact early on. By the end of the season, once Darcy maybe gets injured, or with just Jackson being great at the end of the season as like a midfielder in a way as a ruckman, then maybe Jackson starts as the ruck over Darcy, and Darcy's able to help a miss in the forward line. But I think Jackson's more experienced in the forward line, obviously playing with Gawn at Melbourne. And so I just think he'd have more confidence playing there than what Darcy would. Then their two midfielders, Sarong and Brayshaw, they're the A-listers. Sarong had a great season last year, and we've seen Brayshaw have a similar season to that in 2022 when they were on fire. And then their third, more experienced midfielder, I've got Jager O'Meara. He's probably slightly ahead of Will Brodie. Brodie just couldn't get in the team last year. It was a weird thing with him where he had a great 2022 season and then just wasn't in the team at all for 2023. And I think O'Meara had performed better than him. So I think he's in the team slightly ahead of him. And then on their bench, I've got Heath Chapman. I think there's a chance he starts over Wagner at the start of the season, but at the end, I think Wagner will be slightly higher on their list than him. And then Erasmus and Johnson will be the two younger players off the bench to give a bit of energy. And then their backup, Small and Switkowski. Banfield as their sub's a pretty obvious choice. He did it quite a bit last year, and I think it was the most used sub out of any player in the AFL. So it's clear that he is able to do that role for them, and Longmuir likes it. To go over their best and fairest, I think it's a pretty obvious answer of Caleb Sarong being first. Just got to keep the energy going from last year. Doesn't need to do too much more. He's already at that level, I think, as a midfielder. Andy Brayshaw, I've got second. All he needs to do is recapture that form from 2022, and he'll be right up there. Again, they'll probably be stealing votes off each other for Brownlow, so I don't think either of them would get close to it. But I think if one of them was individual, like they've had where Brayshaw was better in 22 and Sarong was better in 23, then they do have a chance of getting top 10, top 7 even in the Brownlow. And then third, I've got Jai Miss. I think he'll be really important for them. Obviously, he's their only real proven key forward, and I just think he'll probably kick 50 to 55 goals for them over the season. So that's why I've got him first in my most goals as well. Second, I've got Walters. I think he'll be playing basically 100% small forward time. Don't think he'll be spending time in the midfield. And unless he gets injured, which may happen, but for this I'm not including it, I just think he'll be able to kick the second most goals for them. And then third, I've got Frederick. I've got him over both Tracy and Jackson simply because Darcy and Jackson, for me, will be splitting a lot of the time. So they might both kick like 20, 25 goals, but neither will kick 35, 40 goals individually. And then Tracy, I don't think he'll be able to get close to the 40 mark. He'll probably easily get 25, 30, but I don't think he'll get to that tier above. So I've got Frederick, who I just think will be a consistent goal sneak. He'll be able to have games where he kicks 4 to 5 goals, and then all he needs is a couple others in most other games for him to get it. Now, for their most improved, I think it's a miss. It's simply because of development. I wouldn't say he's actually improved outside of what he was supposed to do. Whether he was supposed to get there anyway is a question in of itself. But I think with his season last year kicking just over 40 goals, I think he'll get to that 53, 54, 55 range. So it'll just be natural improvement. Second, I've got Brayshaw. Again, it's not really improvement based off his 2022 form. It's just getting back to that, improving from 2023, not play development, just regaining form. And then third, I've got Frederick, simply because I've got him finishing top 3 in their best and in their most goals. So I think he'll be able to get that leap. To talk about their off-season changes, it was not a good off-season for them. They only really gained Jeremy Sharp, who I don't even have in their team at the moment, although he has looked pretty good in training from what I've heard. And they lost Henry Schultz. as two starters for them. Henry obviously had a pretty good second half of the season. Probably would have been in over O'Driscoll for the wing spot, but I don't think he would be too much of a loss because he wasn't great in the first half of the season anyway. And then they also lost Lockie Schultz, who's a big problem for them because he would honestly be challenging a miss for their best forward. So when you lose one of your two best not key forwards, but forwards, it is difficult to replace. And I don't think they definitely didn't find one. I think it was a good draft for them to get Murphy. He obviously fell quite hard, but I think Pearce is 28. So by the time Ollie Murphy would potentially develop into that key back, Alex Pearce might be 32, 33. So it might be a good time to start playing him. And then they picked up Oscar McDonald just in case anyone gets an injury, who I don't think is a horrible pickup. It's just a backup sort of waffle player who'll, if must need, he'll play. In terms of where I've got Fremantle finishing, I've got them finishing second last, which is a bold prediction, but it's actually, from what I've heard other people say, a lot of people also have them quite low. I've got them that extra bit lower. They were really poor last season, and I don't see them winning a game almost outside of Western Australia, like at all. I think they'll really struggle on the road, and I think before even the bye, they'll fire Longmuir. I don't see them definitively getting better. Obviously, they've got younger players getting better, but also you might have the drop in production of Walters and Fife. Jackson and Darcy haven't proven they can play together, so it might be a Gawn and Grundy situation. And then they've had a lot of injuries to deal with as well. So I'm not definitive about them in any sense. They could finish 10th easily. Like I wouldn't disagree with you if you were to say that. But in my opinion, I don't see much improvement. Their list only got worse, and trusting on simple inside improvement from the team is really difficult to do. So I don't see Fremantle getting better from what they were in 2023. So that's my thoughts. If you liked the video, hit the like button. It'll really help with my channel and growing it. Leave your thoughts about Fremantle in the comments below, where you think they'll land in 2024. And thanks for watching.